How's it hanging, guys? Aaron from PhoneDog.com here, and the LG Revolution is finally in the house. It's Verizon's third 4G LTE device, but the question has to be asked. You've got the HTC Thunderbolt, the Samsung Droid Charge, and now this. Which one's the best? Should you go with this when it only has a 5-megapixel camera and it's the same price tier as the HTC Thunderbolt right there at that 250 mark? We're going to try to find that out and more in the full review. First, special thanks to our guys at Best Buy, because thanks to them, you're getting hooked up with awesome phones just like this in our One Paw Bandit game. So when you go into Best Buy Mobile, you walk out working, they help you set up email, web, and more. Enough of that, let's get into it. LG Revolution, is this the best 4G LTE device, or should you go with something else? We're going to find out that and more in the full review. The Revolution is finally available on Verizon, though the question has to be asked, is it really revolutionary? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. That's the one. Well, I may have some more puns for you, but that's the one that I had to do. LG Revolution available now for $249.99 at Verizon retail stores, Best Buy, online at VerizonWireless.com, and through a bunch of third-party retailers. Now, specs-wise, this is probably the lowest spec, at least in some ways, 4G LTE device out of the three current ones on the market, the Thunderbolt, the Droid Charge, and now this. It has a 1 GHz single-core Snapdragon processor. It's a speedy device for the most part. I have experienced some lag, which I'll talk about briefly later on in the video. But the real big thing here, 5-megapixel camera on the back as opposed to 8 megapixels on the Droid Charge and on the Thunderbolt. And then you look at the battery, 1500 milliamp battery. The battery, in my testing and my use, drains exceptionally quickly, and this thing might take over Samsung as the device that takes the longest to charge. I mean, this thing takes forever to charge. I charged it for several hours this morning, and it didn't even get to 100%, and it's dropped about 12% since then with little to no use. So something to keep in mind. You know, battery life hasn't been the greatest for me. That 1500 milliamp hour battery is not the best when it comes to 4G LTE devices. They should have gone with something like a 17 or 1800 milliamp battery. So, you know, it's on the same price tier as the Thunderbolt, $249.99. But specs-wise, like I said, 1 GHz processor, 4.3-inch display, nothing special about the display, and it's a little bit washed out in comparison to, well, both the Thunderbolt and the Super AMOLED Plus toting Samsung Droid Charge. So, you know, the display isn't the best. You have that camera issue. You do have a front-facing camera, which is nice. It's running Android 2.2, but the real difference here versus the LG G2X, which is running a clean build of Android 2.2, you have this custom LG interface. Now, excuse me, part of this is LG, but also part of this was, from my understanding, based on the request of Verizon. So something to keep in mind, it's not just LG's fault, but they could have done a better job with the interface. You know, as with everything, especially when it comes to user interfaces, it's very much personal preference. I may not like it, but you may love it, so it may be the best one for you. So something to keep in mind, give it a try in the store in comparison to HTC Sense on the Thunderbolt and TouchWiz on the Droid Charge. But all in all, you know, a decent device. It's another addition to the 4G lineup. You'll see over here on the right side, you have your volume rocker, HDMI port. You have your 4 capacitive buttons down there at the bottom, menu, home, back, and search. And then down here, or on this side rather, your micro USB charging port. Now on the back, camera, 5 megapixels with a flash. It is capable of shooting 720p HD video. Be sure to check out my video on YouTube on our channel, because I'll give you a little hint or a little tip why you should watch it. Audio is pretty terrible. The video is decent. So take a look at it, see what you think, and let me know. 3.5mm headphone jack up here, power button, and like I said, 4.3-inch display. Now, nothing really to write home about. I don't have the Droid Charge charged up. That's 2 play on words. I'm sorry, I told you I'd only do one. But I don't have it charged up. But if you saw the difference with it right up here as opposed to this one, you would see that the displays are pretty dramatically different. But anyway, you know, I'm not going to harp on that too much. Android 2.2 with LG's custom user interface, which you have 7 home screens over here. We can scroll back and forth to see some of LG's custom widgets. Now, they've done a pretty decent job with the widgets. For example, here's the AccuWeather widget. Definitely a decent widget, and it is hot. I know it's hot, and it has 92 degrees, and it feels like 102. That is exactly Charlotte weather right there. But you can see it's at 5 o'clock in the evening. Friends widgets, news widgets, and more, which we'll go ahead and take a look at the widgets. So when you see when I click on the screen, it brings up this kind of custom widget interface instead of bringing up that typical menu. I can add some things, and this is important to note as well. It's not a Google device, or a with Google device, if you will. It does have Bing pre-installed. It's one of the few Verizon high-end devices. We see this a lot of their low-end and mid-range devices, but it's one of their high-end devices that comes with Bing pre-installed. So we'll scroll down through here, data usage, typical Verizon stuff, finance, friends, favorite contacts, in touch widget, my status, music, a couple custom LG things, messaging. Always love a good messaging widget. And you can select the style, so you got kind of an HTC Sense type thing going on here, where you have a couple different sizes, and then I can likewise select folders, wallpapers, and more from here. So if I want to change the wallpaper, I can come up here. So it's a little bit different than what you have seen in the stock Android interface, and for the most part, with the exception of HTC Sense, a lot of the manufacturers leave that unchanged. It isn't on here. So you can see when I go back to our messaging widget, no recent messages, but you do have quite a few widget options. I just find it to be a little bit, I feel like it's hastily done. I feel like it's kind of a cheap knockoff of iOS and actually of TouchWiz as well. And I don't like the way it groups the applications. It actually reminds me of kind of a feature phone type thing as opposed to having all your apps in one place. But anyway, you have communication, news and search, media, tools, applications, and then downloads that you've done yourself. So let's go through and take a look at some of these. Facebook for LG, Twitter for LG pre-installed along with the typical Google stuff. Bing Search, Bing Maps is pre-installed. VZ Navigator and weather. Now one thing you'll notice, Google Maps isn't installed out of the box. You have to download that through the Android market. Then you have Amazon Kindle, BitBot, Blockbuster, Let's Golf, Netflix. First Android device to come with Netflix pre-installed out of the box. Rhapsody, Rock Band, Slacker, TuneWiki, and then of course your VCast stuff here, VCast apps and VCast Media Manager. You get more 4G mobile hotspot, which is still free right now. It's coming up on the final trial, but it's still free. Then you have Backup Assistant, My Verizon Mobile, and more. So you got those, and then you can pinch, close them up, zoom out, and you can see, you can bring those in and out. So quite a few widgets pre-installed out of the box. Let's go into Netflix. Actually, let's go to Netflix and take a look at that first. I'm going to mix it up a little bit in this video. So we have our Netflix app. We're going to change that around. It looks like we need to upgrade to use the application. Okay, replace. Yeah, let's replace that. And thanks to that 4G LTE connectivity, it's definitely pretty fast. So you can see the notifications bar while that's loading up here as well. You've got some shortcuts to sound, to Wi-Fi, to Bluetooth, GPS, and airplane mode as well. So you can see, we'll take a look. The battery was about 68% when we started, so we'll take a look at it at the very end. Done. That's what Netflix looks like. I'm not going to spend too much time going into that, but we'll scroll through. Let's take a look at the browser. We'll start with that, and we'll load up phonedog.com so you can get an idea. Now, it comes with two keyboards, which I'll cover more in just a second, but it comes with LG's keyboard, which can be found here, and then swipe as well. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but a lot of people complained about the LG keyboard. It's really not that bad, especially on this larger display. So we'll see here. PhoneDog loading right up. And pinch to zoom reasonably fast. A little bit of a lag, not too bad. And I've got the advertisements loading over here. It is flash capable, obviously, since it's running Android 2.2. But overall, pinch to zoom in and out relatively quickly. Now let's look at the Windows. Typical Android setup here, no customizations to this. It's pretty bland. If you want to open up a second window, then you want to go back to PhoneDog. No pictures, no preview of the browser, anything like that. But you can use it in portrait and in landscape mode, obviously. And thanks to that large display, it comes across pretty nicely on here. Let's take a look at messaging. Go into new. And you can just see, it really has this look and feel of maybe iOS or TouchWiz to a lesser extent. But we'll do the LG keypad to start, as you can see. We'll type to compose. And you can see LG keyboard and swipe pre-installed on both of these. So the quick, brown. And there's one thing I've found about this, brown, fox. There's a rhythm you have to do on the keyboard. You can't just type out as quickly as I normally do. Is ready for our awesome tablet giveaway. Quick Brown Fox is ready for our awesome tablet giveaway. We're giving away tablets right now, and another big contest is right around the corner. So shameless promotion there. Just get an idea of what it looks like in portrait and in landscape. So even somebody with large thumbs like myself in 4.3-inch configuration can do pretty decently on this keyboard. Hey there, how are you today? I don't know why I'm saying that out, but you get the idea. Hey, how are you today? Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let. Okay, I'm done. But you get the idea. Pretty quick and easy to type on. And then if you prefer swipe, you have that pre-installed on here as well. But it's got this typical or kind of threaded text message look and feel. We can add a contact if we want to. and Old Man Baker, and then we'll send it, which it's not going to send, but you get the idea. Got that bubbly type format, bubbly threaded format, and that's what it looks like in the menu. I'm going to get a message popping up in a sec saying that number is not a valid number, probably, but that's okay. So you can see that's what messaging looks like there. So let's go into the market as well. Let's see if it's actually changed. It looks like, okay, it's still in the old market. When I was playing with it earlier, before I reset it for the video, it took me a couple of power cycles to get it into the new market. So that's something, if you do buy this device and you see it stuck in the old market for a while, for a couple of days, you may have to do that yourself. But anyway, I'm going to take a look here, which I guess is really not relevant since this is the old market, but you get the idea. Very similar setup. Let's go to famous paintings, for example. It's going to be a little bit different in the new version, but about comments related switched around. You do still get the screenshots and more. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that because obviously that'll change. The new market is much cleaner and better looking. For whatever reason, it just hasn't hit on here just yet. So that's kind of strange. So we'll go to contacts real quick, take a look at those so you can see the differences there. Phone call log, contacts, and groups. Now it's got this kind of colorful interface, not really different from stock Android, but you get these kind of different tabs. Info, history, and photo, and then from call home I can either dial or message. It shows me what group it's in and any other relevant information, address, website, email, anything like that. Now, old man, it should pop up, and I don't know why it's not popping up. I thought it would pop up with a text message, but apparently it doesn't. So let's go into old man, give him a call. Oh, that's because I dial. I gotcha. Oh, apparently old man lives in the Northwest Territories, in case you were wondering. And actually now I know why it doesn't make sense, because I dialed Old Man Baker, that's why. So you can see there's our text message. So it shows up history, text messages, picture messages, and phone calls as well, and then any photos that you tag that person as well. So it's nice to see all this consolidated into one place where you can pull it up and say, hey, you know, Old Man Baker and I sent 12 text messages yesterday and we made 2 phone calls. It's just nice from an organizational standpoint.